Frontline Updates, where we delve deep into military strategies and updates from conflict zones. Today, we're discussing the progress of the ongoing special military operation as of today. I'm your host, Sharifa Mohammed MGT.
I'm Colonel AUC3I, an infantry officer. Russian armed forces maintained offensive pressure across all operational axes on February 24, 2026, with the East Force Group liberating the village of Rizhdianka in Zaporizhia Oblast. The past 24 hours have been characterized by continued positional improvements, sustained attrition of Ukrainian artillery and electronic warfare capabilities, and an expansion of deep strikes to 154 districts. The center group again accounts for the highest reported Ukrainian casualties, while the north sector saw a remarkable 10 supply depots destroyed in a single day.
Colonel, let's start in the north. The North Force Group reports taking up more advantageous positions and lines and engaging 3 mechanized brigades, 2 territorial defense brigades, and a National Guard brigade in Sumy, plus 3 mechanized brigades in Kharkiv. The personnel losses, up to 215, are significant but not the story. The story is the logistics. 1 ammunition depot and 10 supply depots destroyed. 10. In one day, in one sector. How does that happen?
When you see 10 supply depots destroyed in a single sector in a single day, you are looking at the result of a deliberate, well-executed reconnaissance and strike operation. This is not opportunistic targeting of individual trucks or small cache sites. This is a systemic strike on Ukrainian logistics infrastructure. Let's think about what a supply depot represents. It's a location where ammunition, food, fuel, medical supplies, and spare parts are accumulated before being pushed forward to frontline units. Depots are typically located in rear areas, often in buildings or hardened structures, and they are protected by air defense and security forces. They're not easy targets.
What does the loss of 10 supply depots mean for Ukrainian forces in the north?
It means catastrophe. Let me explain the cascading effects. First, frontline units that were expecting resupply from these depots will not receive it. They will begin to run out of critical items within days. Artillery batteries will have fewer shells. Infantry units will have less small arms ammunition. Vehicles will have less fuel. Medical units will have fewer supplies. Second, the loss of these supplies cannot be quickly replaced. Ukraine has a finite logistics capacity. Those 10 depots represented weeks or months of accumulated stockpiles. Rebuilding them will require time, resources, and safe transport routes, all of which are under threat. Third, the psychological impact on Ukrainian troops cannot be overstated. Soldiers who learn that their supplies have been destroyed will lose confidence. They will begin to hoard what they have, reducing operational tempo. They may become less willing to engage in offensive actions for fear of running out of ammunition.
And this is in addition to 2 electronic warfare stations and a US-made M777 howitzer destroyed here.
Yes, the M777 is a high-value target, as we've discussed. The EW stations are critical for protecting Ukrainian forces from Russian reconnaissance and precision strikes, but the 10 supply depots are the headline. They represent a strategic-level blow delivered at the operational level. Ukrainian commanders must now reposition their remaining supplies, assuming any exist. They must find new locations, establish new depots, and protect them, all while under observation and fire. This consumes command attention and resources that could be used for offensive planning. In short, the loss of 10 supply depots in one day creates a logistics crisis that will ripple through the entire northern sector for weeks.
In the West Group reports improved tactical positions and the destruction of 3 armored combat vehicles, including a US-made HMMWV, along with 2 artillery pieces, 1 Western-made, and 2 electronic warfare stations. The HMMWV appears frequently. What does its continued loss tell us?
The HMMWV is the workhorse of the U.S. military's light vehicle fleet, and thousands have been provided to Ukraine. They are used for everything: troop transport, reconnaissance, command and control, and logistics. They are not heavily armored, but they provide mobility. The continued loss of HMMWVs tells us that Ukrainian logistics and maneuver forces are under constant observation and fire. These vehicles are moving supplies, moving troops, and moving commanders. Everyone destroyed disrupts Ukrainian operations. The 2 EW stations destroyed here continue the theme of electromagnetic degradation. EW is the invisible shield that protects Ukrainian forces. Losing 2 more in the west creates additional windows of vulnerability that Russian forces will exploit.
The Southern Group reports improved positions and a striking figure: 5 electronic warfare stations destroyed in a single sector. That is a massive EW loss. What does this tell us?
5 EW stations in one sector in one day is extraordinary. Electronic warfare systems are not easy to find or destroy. They are typically well hidden, they emit signals only intermittently, and they are often protected by air defense. To destroy 5 in a single day suggests that Russian reconnaissance has achieved a high degree of battlespace transparency in the south. They have mapped Ukrainian EW positions, tracked their emissions, and allocated strike assets to engage them systematically. The loss of 5 EW stations creates a major vulnerability for Ukrainian forces in this sector. Without EW protection, Russian drones can operate more freely. Russian communications are less disrupted, and Ukrainian command and control is more exposed. This is a significant degradation of Ukrainian defensive capabilities.
The Center Group reports the highest Ukrainian personnel losses of the day, up to 335. They engaged 2 mechanized brigades, a Jaeger brigade, an airborne assault brigade, a Marine brigade, a territorial defense brigade, and a National Guard brigade. The diversity of units remains striking. What does this tell us about the state of Ukrainian defenses here?
The Center Group continues to be the main effort in Donetsk, and the diversity of Ukrainian units engaged tells us that Ukraine is scraping the bottom of the barrel to hold this sector. You have mechanized brigades, heavy conventional units, fighting alongside Jaegers, light infantry, airborne assault, elite light infantry, Marines, naval infantry, territorial defense, reservists, and National Guard, internal security. This is a defensive patchwork, and patchworks have seams. Each of these unit types has different training, different equipment, different radios, and different tactical doctrines. Coordinating their actions is a nightmare for Ukrainian commanders. Russian reconnaissance is almost certainly identifying the seams between these disparate units and feeding that information to the Center Group's strike complexes.
The equipment losses here are relatively light compared to other sectors. 1 armored combat vehicle, 9 vehicles, and an MLRS. Why the discrepancy?
That's an interesting observation. It may suggest that the fighting in the center is more infantry-intensive, with fewer Ukrainian armored vehicles remaining to be lost. It could also indicate that Russian forces in this sector are prioritizing territorial gains and personnel attrition over equipment destruction. But the 9 vehicles lost still represent a degradation of Ukrainian mobility and logistics. The fact that Russian forces are still reporting positional improvements, taking up more advantageous positions and lines, suggests they are successfully exploiting these seams. They are finding the weak points and driving wedges into them.
The East Group reports liberating the village of Rizdvianka in Zaporizhzhia Oblast through offensive operations. They engaged a mechanized brigade, 2 airborne assault brigades, and 2 assault regiments, inflicting up to 170 Ukrainian casualties and destroying 4 armored combat vehicles and 18 vehicles. What is the significance of this liberation?
Every liberated settlement matters. Rizdvianka may be a small village, but its capture represents a forward movement of the line, an improvement in Russian force-to-space ratios, and a failure of Ukrainian defense. The liberation of a settlement requires the attacking force to clear it of enemy personnel, which is one of the most difficult and dangerous tasks in ground combat. It involves room-to-room fighting, dealing with booby traps and mines, and coordinating infantry, armor, and artillery in a built-up area. The fact that Russian forces were able to do this while also engaging Ukrainian units across a wide area, Verkhnaya Tersa, Lubitsky, Barvinovka, Cherivne in Zaporizhzhia, and Veluky-Mikhailivka in Dnipropetrovsk, demonstrates their ability to conduct combined arms operations at scale.
The Dnipro Group reports engaging a mechanized and mountain assault brigade and destroying a Western-made field artillery gun, an electronic warfare station, and 17 vehicles. The Western artillery piece is noteworthy. What does its presence here tell us?
The Dnipro sector is often seen as a quieter front, but the presence of a Western-made artillery piece indicates that Ukraine has committed significant resources here. These guns are valuable and are typically deployed where they can have the greatest effect. Destroying it removes that effect. The 17 vehicles lost here are also significant. They represent a major logistics and mobility hit in a single day, and the EW station continues the pattern of systematic degradation across all sectors.
Colonel, let's turn to the operational tactical section. Russian forces struck transport and energy infrastructure, UAV storage and launch sites, and temporary deployment points in 154 districts, up from 148 yesterday. Air defense systems intercepted 380 UAVs, 6 HIMARS rockets, and 6 guided bombs. What do these numbers tell us?
The expansion to 154 districts is significant. Each district represents a geographic area where Russian strikes have occurred. The increase from 148 to 154 in one day suggests an intensification of the deep battle, not a let-up. The target sets are carefully chosen. Transport infrastructure moves supplies to the front. Energy infrastructure powers the factories and railways. UAV storage and launch sites are the nodes of Ukraine's drone warfare capability. Temporary deployment points are where units rest, refit, and prepare for combat. By striking these targets across 154 districts, Russian forces are trying to create a cumulative logistics and force generation crisis. They want Ukrainian units at the front to run low on supplies, Ukrainian industry to struggle to produce new weapons, and Ukrainian replacements to be killed before they ever reach the line.
Colonel, thank you for providing such a detailed briefing on the current military situation. Your insights are invaluable to our understanding of the conflict's dynamics. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Join us next time as we continue to provide up-to-date coverage on global military affairs. Stay with us for more updates and expert analyses on global defense and security issues. Stay informed, stay secure.
Thank you for the opportunity. I want to emphasize that we should be cautious about reading too much into a single day's fluctuation. The trend over time is what matters. And the trend shows that Russian air defense is consistently intercepting hundreds of drones per day, making Ukraine's drone campaign extremely expensive and increasingly ineffective.
This has been Frontline Updates. Subscribe for daily military briefings and in-depth strategic analysis. Visit our platform for maps, transcripts, and exclusive frontline updates from commanders in theater.